Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
49er faithful, I want you to play a little game with me today. Imagine, just for one single day, you got to sit in John Lynch's chair. You had the keys to the entire front office. You had cap space to burn and a phone full of agents just waiting for your call. What would you actually do? Well, one respected Bay Area voice recently laid out exactly that scenario. And the answer he came up with is bold, a little bit controversial, and honestly pretty fascinating to dig into. So today, we're breaking down 4 hypothetical moves that could take this roster from good to genuinely terrifying, and by the end of this video, you're going to have your own opinion on whether this blueprint actually holds up. Let's start by talking about the single biggest concern hanging over this roster heading into the season. Because if you're going to play general manager for a day, you have to start by identifying the Achilles heel. And for San Francisco, that weakness has been painfully obvious. This defense simply did not have enough juice getting after the quarterback last season. Yes, Nick Bosa is working his way back. Yes, the interior got reinforced. But remember, last year this team was leaning on street free agent pickups just to generate any kind of consistent pressure, and when your leading sack producers are guys who got signed off the couch mid-season, that tells you everything about how thin this pass rush actually was. And here's the thing that makes this problem even more urgent. San Francisco's defensive backfield is remarkably young, loaded with defensive backs still on the early side of their careers. And if there's one thing every single young cornerback and safety in this league desperately needs, it's a pass rush in front of them, making their job easier. A great pass rush covers up a whole lot of coverage mistakes. A weak one exposes every single one of them. So move number 1 in this hypothetical front office overhaul, go out right now and sign veteran edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney. Now, here's why this name actually makes a ton of sense, and it's not just nostalgia talking. Clowney is currently sitting unsigned in free agency, still without a team as camp approaches, and that is genuinely a little bit surprising given what he's still capable of on a football field. Last season, Clowney posted 8.5 sacks and graded out as one of the more effective pass rush win rate performers at his position in the entire league. This is a former first overall pick who has quite literally played for 7 different franchises at this point in his career, earning himself a reputation as an authentic pass-rushing mercenary who shows up, gets after the quarterback, and moves on to the next contender that needs him. And the scheme fit here genuinely makes sense too. Clowney has the versatility to line up off the edge, to slide inside and rush from the interior, to give a defense multiple different pre-snap looks before the ball is even snapped. You could even get creative with him in an all-out pass rush package, mixing him in alongside your other top rushers for pure obvious passing situations. For a defense that desperately needs more juice up front, and for a price tag that realistically should come in as a modest, short-term prove-it deal given his age and well-traveled Ursum, Clowney represents exactly the kind of low-risk, potentially high-reward addition a contending front office should be chasing right now. And if you could somehow make a second move to further bolster that pass rush, why stop at just one name? Veteran Von Miller is also still sitting out there on the open market. Yes, he's up there in years at this stage of his career. But make no mistake, faithful, the man can still get after the quarterback. He's a future Hall of Famer. A proven difference maker in pretty much any scheme he's ever been dropped into, and adding a name like that alongside Clowney would take a real question mark on this roster and turn it into a legitimate strength. Realistically, you probably only land one of these 2 names if you're being disciplined with your resources. But if forced to pick just one, Clowney's combination of youth relative to Miller and his scheme versatility makes him the priority target. Either way, move number 1 is crystal clear. Go get real, proven help for this pass rush, because you can never have too many bodies capable of consistently getting after the quarterback. Now here's where this hypothetical blueprint gets genuinely spicy, because move number 2 is going to split this fan base right down the middle. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs remains unsigned right now, and faithful, look at what this man just did on the sport's biggest stage. Last season with the New England Patriots, Diggs caught 85 passes for over 1,000 yards. And he did it all while helping lead that franchise all the way to the Super Bowl, where he actually played his very first career championship game. He's 32 years old at this point, sure, but he posted a career-high catch rate last season, showing zero signs of the wear and tear that some people assume comes automatically with a receiver entering his 30s. There was an off-field legal situation that got attached to his name after his release, but those charges were fully dropped, and he's since moved on with a clean slate. Now look, there's plenty of speculation that Diggs wants to play closer to his personal roots, with teams like the Commanders or Ravens sitting right in that part of the country being the presumed favorites to eventually land him. But here's the argument for why San Francisco should still absolutely be making that phone call anyway. This front office already brought in Mike Evans for a reason this offseason. The goal is not simply making the playoffs. The goal is winning a championship right now, this season. And if that's genuinely the standard, you cannot simply sit around hoping that you're younger. Unproven receivers eventually figure things out on their own timeline. You need proven difference makers on the field immediately. And Diggs, even at this stage of his career, remains exactly that. Here's the beautiful part of this specific move, though. The part that makes it about a lot more than just this upcoming season. If you sign Diggs now and then get into training camp and one of your younger receiving options suddenly looks fantastic, you haven't lost anything. You've gained incredible depth and true positional flexibility. Picture this scenario. Camp rolls around, and suddenly one of your developmental receivers has an absolutely electric preseason. Now you've got a genuine trade chip on your hands. Remember, next year's draft class is loaded with talent, and there are always contending teams scrambling at the cut-down deadline looking for exactly the kind of proven situational depth receiver you'd suddenly be sitting on. If a good team comes calling with real draft compensation attached to next year's incredibly deep class, you take that value and run, because now you've got Evans. You've got Diggs, and you've still got your rookie class developing behind them. This move gives you one eye locked firmly on winning now, while the other eye stays focused on stockpiling future draft capital for whenever that opportunity presents itself. Moving on to hypothetical move number 3, and this one addresses a real tangible need currently sitting on this roster. Tight end Jonnu Smith remains available on the open market right now, and faithful, I genuinely believe this specific pickup is criminally underrated by the rest of the league. Last season, playing in a crowded tight end room that simply didn't funnel him many opportunities, Smith only caught 38 passes. But don't let that modest number fool you into thinking he's lost anything. Just 2 seasons earlier, in a featured role with the Miami Dolphins, Smith caught 88 passes for 884 yards and 8 touchdowns, a genuine Pro Bowl caliber season by any measure. He's 30 years old, he's not declining, he was simply underutilized behind a crowded depth chart that didn't need him the way this specific roster does right now. Think about the timing here. George Kittle is working his way back from injury, and realistically, this roster needs a legitimate receiving option at tight end capable of stepping in and producing immediately while Kittle continues that recovery process. Dropping a proven Pro Bowl caliber talent like Jonnu Smith into Kyle Shanahan's offense, catching passes from Brock Purdy, could genuinely end up being one of the most underrated additions of this entire offseason. It's entirely realistic that 6 weeks into the regular season, people are talking about Jonnu Smith as a legitimate offensive difference maker, and the best part is San Francisco could go out and sign him for a fraction of what his actual production is worth, simply because he got buried behind other names on a crowded depth chart last season. And now, for the 4th and final move in this hypothetical blueprint, and faithful, buckle up, because this one is a genuine high upside dice roll. This move centers around backup quarterback insurance and a name that might completely surprise you: Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. Here's the real, actual situation in Indianapolis right now, and it's worth laying out clearly before we get to the hypothetical trade. The Colts have fully committed to Daniel Jones as their long-term starting quarterback, recently signing him to a 2-year deal worth roughly $88 million, even as he continues working his way back from a torn Achilles suffered late last season. Behind Jones, rookie Riley Leonard has genuinely impressed the coaching staff and appears ready to handle real backup duties. That leaves Anthony Richardson, the former 4th overall pick with as much raw physical talent as almost any quarterback prospect in recent memory, in a genuinely murky, complicated spot. Richardson actually requested a trade earlier this year, sources have confirmed. Though as of the most recent reporting, no deal has actually been finalized, and he remains on Indianapolis's roster fighting for whatever role he can find, currently competing directly with Leonard for that number 2 job behind Jones. Now here's the hypothetical dream scenario worth exploring. What if San Francisco found a package attractive enough to Indianapolis to pry Richardson away? Even in a modest, low-cost move given his lingering trade value questions, we're talking about a physical specimen genuinely unlike almost anyone else to ever play the position. Someone standing 6'4", tipping the scales around 240 pounds, with arm talent that scouts have compared to almost anyone in recent draft history, and speed that clocks in at a legitimate 4.4 in the 40. Those are the exact kinds of physical tools that make you want to take a swing on developmental upside, especially inside a coaching staff and system with Kyle Shanahan's track record for extracting production out of unconventional talent. The idea here isn't necessarily handing Richardson the keys to the franchise. It's about adding a genuine developmental project at a very low acquisition cost, someone who could immediately factor into specific packages, maybe even a unique short yardage or goal line role given his combination of size and explosiveness, not unlike specialized packages other contending teams have built around similarly unique athletic profiles. If Richardson looks good in year 1 under Shanahan's tutelage, you've suddenly got serious flexibility. You could use his development as insurance to potentially trade Mac Jones later on for even more draft capital. Or, if his mechanics and decision-making continue to lag behind that jaw-dropping physical upside, you simply continue letting him develop on the side for another year or 2 before ultimately trying to flip him to another team looking to take their own swing on that same tantalizing potential. Given how genuinely low the acquisition cost would likely be for a player currently buried on somebody else's bench, this represents exactly the kind of asymmetric, high-ceiling gamble that a genuinely aggressive front office should be willing to explore, even if it doesn't end up working out in the end. So there you have it, faithful. 4 bold, genuinely fascinating hypothetical moves. Sign Jadeveon Clowney to immediately bolster a pass rush that desperately needs reinforcements. Make the somewhat controversial call to bring in Stephon Diggs, giving this receiving core an immediate proven difference maker while simultaneously setting up future trade flexibility with your younger options. Scoop up the criminally underrated Jonnu Smith to provide real, immediate tight end production while George Kittle continues working his way back. And take a genuine, calculated dice roll on acquiring a uniquely talented, if still unproven, quarterback prospect like Anthony Richardson, purely as a low-cost, high-ceiling developmental swing. Individually, any one of these moves would represent a solid, sensible offseason addition. Put all 4 together, and you're looking at a front office that refuses to sit still, that understands exactly how short championship windows actually are in this league, and that is genuinely willing to get creative, both on proven veteran talent and on high-upside developmental dice rolls, in order to maximize every single realistic path toward another Lombardi trophy. Now, I fully expect this exact video to generate some serious disagreement in the comments, and honestly, that's exactly what makes this kind of exercise so much fun. Not everybody is going to love the idea of bringing in a 32-year-old receiver with some off-field baggage attached to his name. Not everybody is going to see the wisdom in trading anything of value for a former first-round quarterback bust who hasn't developed the way his draft position suggested he would. That's completely fair, and I genuinely want to hear where you land on all of this. All right, faithful, it's your turn to play general manager. Down in the comments section right now, tell me which of these 4 hypothetical moves you'd actually make if you had the keys to this front office for just one single day. Are you fully on board with signing Jadeveon Clowney to fix this pass rush? Does the idea of bringing Stephon Diggs into this receiver room excite you or worry you? Do you think Jonnu Smith is genuinely as underrated a pickup as we've made him out to be? And be honest with me on the big one. Would you actually take a flyer on Anthony Richardson given his physical tools? Or do you think that specific dice roll simply isn't worth the risk? Drop your own hypothetical front office moves in the comments below because I read every single one of them. And I want to see exactly how creative the faithful can get with this exercise. If this video gave you something fun to think about, please do me a favor and smash that like button, because it genuinely helps this channel grow and reach even more of the faithful who need to see content like this. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we are covering every single storyline coming out of Santa Clara all summer long, all the way through training camp, all the way through the preseason, and all the way through the entire regular season. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in the very next video. Go Niners!